Okay, today we are going to be retrofitting a immobiliser on the Balius. So we have this, the LM8002, apparently for BMW vehicles, but should do work just the same. Comes with the little immobiliser, little token things. Now I've already looked up the wiring schematic for the bike, and I think I found a wire I want to isolate that should disable the bike. Now each bike is going to be different. You'll need to look up your own and see what the best wire to splice into is going to be. Okay, so what I'm going to do is splice in one of the wires on the junction box. Here's the tricky bit, finding the correct wire. Now I'm supposed to be disabling a brown wire. There is a brown there, but that goes, I'm pretty sure that's for the front and rear lights. Yes, front lights on. I'm going to guess it could have been potentially the black. I was looking at a manual for a ZXR250. This is a ZR250, so the wiring may be slightly different. I'm hoping that may be what it is, but let's find out. Let's plug that back in and see if that isolated the starter. There we go. So that one wire there has disabled the start. Lovely jubbly. God damn it. Okay, that's not gonna work. It does prevent you starting the bike. However, if you isolate it, it does not stop the bike. Now that's going to present a problem because I believe the immobiliser does power on initially. Then if it does not reach a signal, it will cut power. This is going to be a little bit of a challenge. Let's prop the tank up. Dropping it off. Oh yeah. Now, in theory, if I've checked the right wire, if I disconnect this, it should be the power. Let's give it a try. Right. Beautiful. The basic principle, my understanding of the immobiliser, or this particular immobiliser anyway, is if you think of it as a switch. Now initially the switch is on, allow you to start the bike and so forth, but if it does not receive a signal in time, essentially it switches itself off. So you want to place the switch somewhere where it will disable the bike. Hence, probably the most logical place is the ignition module. If you place the switch on the lead power to the ignition module, it'll allow you to start the bike initially, but once it doesn't receive a signal, say within 20 seconds I believe, it will then disconnect the power to the ignition switch. So we'll get fuel and so forth. There's power to the starter, so it will try and turn over, but it won't get no spark to the cylinders because the ignition module has been disabled. Now I actually believe this is a similar principle to the breath testing modules actually. Actually know someone who had one fitted to their bike, and it seemed to be actually more connected to the coil as opposed to the ignition module itself. I'm going to disable the whole entire ignition module as opposed to an individual coil. Alright, let's see what happens. So I'm assuming that the remotes are probably within range. I'll go and put them somewhere else. Should be about a good 10-15 metres away. Range is about 5, so let's see how we go. Let's see if the system works. It starts, in about 20 seconds, if working correctly, it should turn off.
2,000 years later.
So that's what should happen. It's not being turned off. Fuck. I'm missing something.
12 seconds later.
So, I have done some further testing, and I believe the culprit is the unit wasn't getting enough power. I was running it off a mains power to the ignition control unit. However, that's only seemed to be getting about 10.5 volts, whereas I don't think it was enough to trigger the unit of about 12, or straight to the battery, which is 13, and that's triggering it okay. I can actually hear it beeping and the relay clicking inside. So I don't think that was enough. So I'm going to potentially actually rewire it straight to the ignition switch or key, and hopefully that should do the trick.
3:28 a.m.
So, new plan of attack. The immobiliser wasn't getting enough voltage, so I'm going to splice it directly into the ignition system, which I don't think I cut all the way through there.
Many months later.
Alrighty. Anyway, I soldered it in directly into the ignition, sort of main ignition line, powers everything, as opposed to trying to go through the coils or ignition module. Probably what I should have done from the start, just grounded it and so forth. Now I've put the remotes quite a distance away, and when we turn the key, absolutely nothing happens. Cannot start it, there is no lights, there is no any indication of power. Let me go and get the keys. Rightio, so I have the keys well within range for the remote immobilising modules, and it just powers on. Done. Working perfectly.